Okay, the most frequently asked question that I get from my clients is, how do I work out what my values are? How do I live my life in accordance with them? Stay tuned, I'm going to take you through a process to work out exactly that. It's awesome. Okay, value systems. Do you know the amount of inspiration that you have throughout the day, the amount of vitality that you have for your life, and the amount of inspiration that you have for tomorrow and what tomorrow is going to roll out for you, is all based on your ability to understand what your value systems are. Now, when you don't understand what your value systems are, the scary thing is that you begin to live your life in accordance with someone else's value systems, which is really frightening. So what your value systems are basically those things that you do in your life that bring vitality to you, that you're inspired about. You know, those things that really make you feel energized when you're going and doing them and you feel grateful for afterwards. They're also those things that people recognize you for, and the behaviors that people recognize you for, that they have admiration for in your life. Now, people give up their value systems when they get into relationships, or, you know, any sort of relationship, not just a sexual relationship, but in family relationships, work relationships, they give up their values because basically they esteem them too lightly. They're not aware of what their values are. When you esteem something too lightly, you give it away too quickly. So I see it with relationships, where in marital relationships where parents give up their value systems for their children, or the wife gives up the value systems for the husband, or the husband gives up their value systems for the wife, and they think that that's the right thing to do. But when you give up your value systems, you simply become depressed. Now, so making sure that you maintain your values and making sure nothing gets in the way, nor you nor anybody else, is very, very important. Nobody's value systems are more important to you than your own. So when you're made aware of what your value systems are, there's basically within the motor function of the brain, we feel a compulsion to go and achieve them. So there's a simple question or a simple process that gets you to understand what these are, and it goes like this. Let's say you pass away, you go to heaven, and God or Great Spirit comes and meets you and says to you, okay, I'm going to allow you to go back down to earth as long as you can tell me what are the 7 things you're going to do in your life that either on a daily basis or throughout your whole life that are going to bring inspiration and love into your heart. What are those 7 things that you would love to live and love to do within your life if you were given another 80 or 90 years? I want you to write those 7 things down and be really, really clear about what they are. Once you've wrote them down, I want you to go through a simple process of elimination, and I want you to eliminate 4 of them. Say to yourself, okay, one by one, which one of these could I do without, until you're left with 3. Those 3 that you're left with are your top 3 values, and they're basically where your wealth lies. Now, something else that is really important is that understanding what your value systems are basically stimulates the frontal lobe of the brain and the motor function of the brain to start to create and manifest that within your life. So there's cool steps that will help you to do this. For example, the first one I highly recommend, once you've worked out what your top 3 values are, is share them with everybody you can. Start to tell every person that you know, your partner, your kids, what your top 3 values are, and that you've become aware of it. And start to feel that sensation of that tingling excitement within your cells. As you share this information with people, they'll also get inspired to want to know what their values are too. So on top of this, I also recommend that, let's say for example, one of your values is travel and family, or 2 of your values, travel and family. I highly recommend that you start to Google and start to look around the world and start to work out where are those places in the world that you've always felt within your life that you would love to travel to. That you felt, you know, these could be places in your life, for example, that you felt that you would love to influence, or you would love to have those places influence you. Start to Google them, start to get imagery into your mind, even send away for some catalogs about these places, and start to truly feel on a daily basis that you're moving towards achieving that dream and aspiration. On top of this, let's say it's relationships. When you share with your partner what your values are, you're actually putting potency into them. And when you encourage your partner to work out what their value systems are, this is a really rich thing to do too. Everybody being clear about their value systems really creates a massive amount of congruency, especially in relationships. Now, these are simple daily steps that you can do constantly, and I recommend that you do them constantly, even if it's in terms of your career. Work out what your career is and where it is you want to head, and start to research and explore, and start to compel the motor function of your brain to head you down that road. Now, I trust that this information has inspired you in some way. You may still have some doubts floating around inside of your mind. And if you do, next week, I'm going to show you a really cool process that turns desperation into immediate inspiration. Just a simple series of questions that just turn that whole sense of desperation sometimes that's inside of your mind into pure inspiration. If this information has moved you in some way or helped you in some way, what we ask is that through reciprocity, you share it either by tweeting it, putting it out on Facebook, or forwarding this link to someone. Take care. I can't wait to speak to you next week. Bye-bye.